Looking back, I should have known something was wrong the moment Mason suggested we celebrate our anniversary at his mother's lakehouse. The same lakehouse where he proposed 7 years ago, where dreams still felt possible and love wasn't a weapon. I'm Juliet, and I've spent the last hour staring at the email from Doris that just shattered any illusion of a romantic getaway. Her usual passive-aggressive tone practically drips through the screen, so thoughtful of Mason to include me in your special weekend. I've already planned the menu and arranged the sleeping arrangements. The knife drawer rattles as I slam it shut. 3 days trapped with my mother-in-law wasn't exactly the anniversary surprise I'd been hoping for. My phone buzzes, Mason, of course. Honey, did Mom email you about the weekend? She's really looking forward to it. When exactly were you planning to tell me? My voice comes out steadier than I feel. Tell you what? I thought you'd be happy. Mom's going to make her famous pot roast. I press my fingernails into my palm. Happy about having your mother crash our anniversary trip? Don't start, Jules. You know how she gets lonely since Dad passed. Besides, she owns the place. Right. Because God forbid we spend one weekend alone together. You're being dramatic. Again. His sigh carries that familiar note of disappointment that always makes me feel 2 inches tall. We'll talk about this when I get home. The line goes dead before I can respond. Typical Mason, always controlling the conversation, always having the final word. I grab my phone and open my messages to Rachel, then delete the angry text I start typing. Mason doesn't like me airing our dirty laundry to friends. The kitchen window reflects my face, and I barely recognize the woman staring back. 7 years of carefully chosen words, of swallowing my feelings, of being molded into the perfect Thompson wife. My hands shake as I reach for the cabinet where I keep my emergency fund, the one Mason doesn't know about. The envelope feels lighter than usual. I count the bills twice, my stomach dropping as I realize what's missing. $300 gone, replaced by a note in Mason's precise handwriting. Had to borrow some for a work emergency. We'll replace it soon. The realization hits me like a physical blow. He's been in my private things. Watching. Waiting. Controlling. Even this small act of independence wasn't really mine at all. My phone buzzes again, another email from Doris, this time with a detailed itinerary for the weekend. As I read through her minute-by-minute schedule, something inside me finally snaps. 7 years of compromise crystallize into a single, clarifying moment of rage. This anniversary will definitely be one to remember, just not in the way they're expecting. The lakehouse looms before us, all weathered wooden judgment, just like Doris herself. She's waiting on the wraparound porch, arms crossed, watching as Mason unloads our luggage with mechanical precision. Juliet, dear, you're looking comfortable. Doris's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Though I thought we discussed wearing more flattering colors at our last lunch. I force myself to return her smile, remembering the missing money from my emergency fund. Black is always flattering, Doris. Mason appears behind me, his hand settling on my lower back, a gesture that once felt protective but now feels like a brand. Mom's right, Jules. You should wear that blue dress I bought you. The dress he bought without asking. The dress that's one size too small. Inside, Doris has transformed the lake house into a shrine to Mason's childhood. New photos crowd the walls, Mason's graduations, Mason's awards, Mason's perfect smile. My wedding photo has mysteriously vanished from its usual spot above the fireplace. I thought we could use dinner to discuss your career plans, Doris announces, stirring something that smells of garlic and disapproval. Mason tells me you're still between jobs. I'm not between jobs. I quit teaching to support Mason's promotion. The words taste bitter. Remember? And we appreciate that sacrifice, Mason cuts in smoothly. But Mother's right. You seem restless lately. My phone vibrates in my pocket, a message from Megan that I'll have to read later, away from prying eyes. Mason's gaze follows my hand as I touch my pocket, his expression sharpening. "Who's that, dear?" Doris asks, all innocent concern. "Probably one of her old work friends," Mason answers for me. "Though we agreed you'd take a break from those relationships, didn't we, Jules?" They were becoming quite distracting. The wooden spoon in my hand creaks as my grip tightens. "Actually, it's probably just a spam text." Doris clucks her tongue. "Mason only wants what's best for you. You know how you can get carried away with the wrong influences." I excuse myself to use the bathroom, locking the door behind me. My hands shake as I read Megan's message. "Found something you need to see. Mason's been lying about more than just money. Call when you can." Through the door, I hear them talking in low voices. "She's becoming difficult again," Doris murmurs. "I know, Mother. But I have everything under control." I flush the toilet needlessly and splash cold water on my face. In the mirror, my reflection stares back with clear eyes for the first time in years. They think they're playing chess, but they don't realize I've already started moving my pieces. Let them think they're winning. For now. I slip out of bed at 3 in the morning, Mason's gentle snores masking my footsteps. Doris's laptop sits unguarded on the kitchen table, her password still the same as always, Mason's birthday. Some habits never change, especially for a woman who thinks her son hung the moon. What I find makes my blood run cold. Bank statements. Loan applications. Gambling receipts. Not just Mason's personal accounts, but our joint savings, my retirement fund. Even the house equity, all of it hemorrhaging money into online poker sites and sports betting. My hands hover over the keyboard as I forward the evidence to my private email. A floorboard creaks behind me. "Trouble sleeping, dear?" Doris's voice slices through the darkness. I close the laptop with practiced casualness. "Just getting some water." Funny how water requires my password. She flicks on the light, her silk robe immaculate even at this hour. "Mason warned me you might try something like this." "Did he warn you about the $100,000 he lost last month?" The silence stretches between us like a rubber band about to snap. Doris's face doesn't change, but her knuckles whiten around her coffee mug. "You don't understand the pressure he's under." You're right. I don't understand how a mother can watch her son destroy his wife's life and call it love. Everything he does is to protect you. Her voice hardens. "From yourself." My phone buzzes, Megan again. Before I can grab it, Doris snatches it off the counter. Her eyes narrow at the screen. "Meeting with divorce lawyers?" She reads aloud. "Oh, Juliet. You really want to play this game? Give me my phone." "Mother?" Mason appears in the doorway, sleep-rumpled but eyes sharp. "What's going on?" "Your wife has been quite busy." Doris hands him my phone. "Planning her escape, it seems." Mason scrolls through the messages, his jaw tightening. "I thought we were past this, Jules. I thought you understood that I'm the only one who truly knows what's best for you. Like gambling away our savings was best for me?" His face darkens. "You've been snooping. And you've been stealing." The slap comes so fast I barely register it until my cheek burns. Mason has never hit me before, he's always been too careful, too controlled. But now I see the truth in his eyes, the mask has finally slipped. Doris gasps, but doesn't move to help me. "Mason, darling, perhaps you should dash. Perhaps you should go to bed, Mother." His voice is deadly quiet. "Juliet and I need to have a serious discussion about trust." As Doris hurries away, I taste copper in my mouth and something else, freedom. Because now I have everything I need, the evidence, the witnesses, and finally, proof of who Mason really is. Game over. The bruise on my cheek has faded to a sickly yellow, but the memory of Mason's hand remains sharp. I sit in Liam and Megan's kitchen, 3 towns over, clutching a mug of coffee that's long gone cold. Mason thinks I'm at the grocery store. I have exactly 17 minutes left before my absence becomes suspicious. "Look at these," Megan slides her laptop across the table. Mason's been busy with more than just gambling. Email threads filled a screen, conversations between Mason and his company's board of directors. Allegations of embezzlement. Threats of criminal charges. A resignation letter, dated next week, that he hasn't shown me. There's more, Liam says quietly. The lakehouse isn't Doris's anymore. Mason remortgaged it 6 months ago without telling her. Used her power of attorney. My hands start shaking. Does she know? Nobody knows, Megan touches my arm. But that's not the worst part. She pulls up another document, a transfer of deed for our house, dated 3 days ago. My signature, perfect and forged, at the bottom. He's liquidating everything, Liam explains. The money's being moved offshore. He's planning to run. The room tilts sideways. Without me. Jules, Megan's voice cracks. There's a plane ticket. One way to Singapore. Just for him. My phone buzzes, Mason. Where are you? Mother's waiting for lunch. I text back, traffic. Almost done. You can't go back, Liam says. We have a spare room. Stay here. But I'm already standing, gathering my purse. No. If I don't return, he'll know something's wrong. He'll disappear with everything before we can stop him. Then we'll call the police, dash. With what proof? My bruise is fading. The forgery looks perfect. His mother will lie for him. I check my lipstick in my compact mirror, adjusting my mask of compliant wife. I need to play along until I can gather enough evidence. Jules, Megan starts. I'm done being a victim. My voice sounds strange, even to me. He thinks he's destroying my life? I'm going to destroy his first. Liam hands me a burner phone. Call us. Anytime. I nod, then pause at the door. If something happens to me, Nothing will happen, Megan says fiercely. Because you're smarter than him. You always were. Driving back, I rehearse my grocery store excuses. But beneath the fear and rage, something else burns, certainty. Mason taught me well how to smile while plotting, how to wound with kindness, how to wait for the perfect moment to strike. Time to show him what a good student I've been. My phone buzzes again. Hurry home, dear. We need to talk about our future. Oh, Mason. If you only knew. The burner phone feels like a live wire in my pocket as I methodically photograph every document in Mason's home office. 3 a.m. and the house creaks with secrets. I've gotten good at this, waiting until his sleeping pills kick in, timing my movements between Doris's midnight bathroom visits. A manila envelope catches my eye, hidden behind his tax files. Inside, photos spill out, Mason with a woman I don't recognize, intimate moments spanning months. The timestamps tell their own story. While I was supporting his career, he was building a new life. The burner phone vibrates. Megan, Rachel found something. Mason's company knows about Singapore. They're moving to arrest him Tuesday. 4 days away. Too long. I slip the photos back, but something else falls out, a receipt for a safety deposit box. The date matches when our savings disappeared. My hands steady as I text back, time to accelerate the plan. The floor creaks behind me. I freeze. Couldn't sleep? Mason's voice, thick with artificial drowsiness. What are you doing in my office? I turn, letting him see the tears in my eyes. I was looking for pain relievers. My head. I touch my bruised cheek meaningfully. His face softens with practiced concern. Jules, you know I never meant to. Come here. I step into his embrace, feeling his guard lower. I've been so scared, I whisper. About money, about us. Let me handle everything, he soothes. I have plans that will fix everything. Like Singapore? His body tenses. I step back, watching realization dawn in his eyes. You've been in my emails. And you've been in my life, destroying everything I built. My voice doesn't shake anymore. Tuesday's going to be interesting. His hand shoots out, but this time I'm ready. I dodge, backing toward the door. Touch me again, and the board gets everything tonight instead of Tuesday. Every email, every photo, every forged document. You're bluffing. Try me. I pull out my phone, thumb hovering over send. How fast can you pack for Singapore when you're in handcuffs? I'll destroy you, he snarls, mask completely gone. Everything you are, everything you have dash. Is already gone, I finish. You saw to that. But here's what you don't understand, Mason, I'm not playing to win anymore. I'm playing to make you lose. I lock myself in the guest room, listening to him rage outside the door. My hands shake as I text Liam and Megan, it's starting. Be ready. Tomorrow, I'll tell Doris about the lakehouse. Tomorrow, I'll contact Mason's board. Tomorrow, I'll watch his carefully constructed world collapse. But tonight, I savor the look in his eyes when he finally realized his perfect, compliant wife learned all his tricks. And improved on them. Morning light streams through the lakehouse windows as I lay out the evidence on the dining room table: bank statements, forged documents, photos of Mason with his mistress, and the deed to Doris's beloved lakehouse. My hands don't shake anymore. They should, but they don't. Mason enters first, coffee mug freezing halfway to his lips. Behind him, Doris gasps. What is all this? Her voice wavers. Ask your son about Singapore. I slide the plane ticket across the table. Or about the lakehouse you think you still own. Mason moves fast, but I'm faster, stepping back as he lunges for the papers. Jules, you're making a terrible mistake. Like the mistake of trusting you? Or the mistake of letting you isolate me from everyone who could have warned me? Doris picks up the lakehouse deed, her face draining of color. Mason, what did you do? Nothing that concerns you, mother. His smile turns razor sharp. Juliet's just having one of her episodes. Remember how unstable she can be? Unstable? I laugh, the sound harsh even to my ears. Show her your girlfriend, Mason. Show her the money you stole. Show her dash. The slap echoes through the room, but this time I don't flinch. Go ahead, I whisper. Show your mother exactly who you are. Mason. Doris clutches the deed to her chest. The lakehouse. My home. I had no choice, he snarls. The company was investigating. I needed dash. To run? I finish. Leaving your mother penniless and your wife to face the consequences? His expression shifts, and suddenly I recognize my mistake. The predatory gleam in his eyes, the slight curl of his lips, he's been waiting for this. Actually, dear wife, he pulls out his phone, I've been recording everything. Your threats, your accusations, your emotional instability. Combined with your history of depression. He shrugs. Who would believe you over me? My blood runs cold as he continues, the board already knows about your mental health issues. How you've been fabricating evidence in your paranoid state. Your friends? They'll testify about your obsessive behavior. Even your therapist dash. I never had a therapist. Your medical records say otherwise. His smile widens. Amazing what money can buy, isn't it? Doris looks between us, uncertainty clouding her face. Mason, surely you wouldn't. Choose carefully, mother, he cuts in. Your son or your unstable daughter-in-law? The silence stretches as Doris clutches her pearls, then slowly moves to stand beside Mason. Just like always. My burner phone buzzes in my pocket, Megan's signal that the police are en route. But as Mason advances, phone recording everything, I realize with crushing clarity, he's thought of everything. He always has. Sirens wail in the distance as Mason advances, his phone still recording. But there's something he doesn't know, something I learned from 7 years of playing the perfect wife. Always have a backup plan. You're right, Mason, I say, loud enough for his recording. I am unstable. Paranoid. Delusional. I meet Doris's eyes. Just like your first wife. Mason freezes. What did you say? Rebecca Martinez. Your college sweetheart. I pull out a worn envelope. She disappeared right after reporting financial irregularities at your first company. Everyone assumed she ran away. Unstable women do that, don't they? Doris's hand flies to her throat. Mason never had a first wife. Show her the marriage certificate, Mason. Show her the police reports. Show her what happened to Rebecca's family when they tried to investigate. His phone drops to the floor. Where did you get that? Rebecca's sister never stopped looking. Funny how unstable women tend to find each other. The sirens are closer now. Mason lunges for the envelope, but I'm already moving. The real evidence isn't in there, it's already with the FBI, delivered by Rachel weeks ago. This envelope only contains blank paper, but Mason doesn't know that. Mother, he turns to Doris, desperate now. She's lying. You know me. But Doris is staring at the photos on the table, not of Mason's mistress, but of a young woman who looks eerily like me. Rebecca. The truth of her son's pattern finally sinking in. The lake house, she whispers. Was it Rebecca's money that bought it? Mason's mask shatters completely. Everything I did for us. To maintain our position, our reputation, dash. Your reputation? I laugh. Check your phone, dear husband. He scrambles for his fallen phone, face draining as he sees the screen. While he was recording me, I was broadcasting everything to his entire contact list, board members, colleagues, friends. His confession about the forged medical records, the lake house, everything. You can't prove anything about Rebecca, he snarls. I don't have to. The front door bursts open, federal agents flooding in. She already did. Rebecca Martinez steps into the room, very much alive, very much ready to testify. Mason's perfect plan crumbles as handcuffs click around his wrists. You taught me well, Mason, I say softly. About patience. About planning. About waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As they lead him away, Doris collapses into a chair, her world shattered. But I feel nothing but lightness, the weightlessness of chains finally breaking. Some revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes, it's about justice. And sometimes, justice wears the face of every woman who ever said enough. The last box from Mason's study sits on my desk, untouched for weeks after the trial. Inside, beneath financial records and court documents, I find a leather journal I've never seen before. His handwriting fills the pages, not the controlled precision I know, but jagged, desperate scrawls. Found something? Rebecca asks from the doorway. She's been helping me sort through the remnants of Mason's life, each of us healing in our own way. His childhood diary. I trace the words, Dad says perfect isn't good enough. He was 14 when his father first hit him. Doesn't excuse what he did to us. No, I close the journal. But it explains the pattern. The doorbell rings, Doris, right on time. Since Mason's conviction, she's been different. Smaller, somehow. But stronger too, in her own way. The lake house sold, she says without preamble. I'm using the money to start a shelter for women leaving abusive relationships. The irony doesn't escape any of us. What about Mason's appeal? Rebecca asks. Let him rot, Doris's voice hardens. I enabled him long enough. I hand her the journal. You might want to read this. Not to forgive, but to understand. She takes it, hands trembling slightly. I thought I knew everything about him. About us. The perfect mother, the perfect son. Perfection makes a good mask, I say. My phone buzzes, Megan, sending photos of the new teaching position I'm starting next week. Life moving forward, one small step at a time. Will you testify? Rebecca asks suddenly. When they reopen the investigation into his father's death? The question hangs between us. Another secret, another layer of Mason's carefully constructed world. His father's suspicious accident, the insurance payout that started his empire, all built on a foundation of revenge. Truth matters more than revenge, I say finally. Even if it's ugly. Doris nods, clutching the journal. I'll testify too. It's time to break the cycle. As they leave, I stand in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes and possibilities. On my desk, Mason's last letter sits unopened. His final attempt to explain, to justify, to control the narrative. I pick it up, feeling its weight, all his reasons, all his excuses, all his pain. For a moment, I consider reading it. Understanding the full story of the man who almost destroyed me. Instead, I drop it in the shredder. Some stories don't need an ending. Some patterns deserve to be broken. And sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't in destroying someone else's life, it's in rebuilding your own, without looking back. The shredder whirs, turning his last words into confetti. Outside, spring sunlight paints everything in new colors, and I finally understand, freedom isn't about escape. It's about choosing your own path forward.